Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Lions Pride Podcast, where tonight we have a very interesting guest on with us. Our podcast tonight is called The Next Chapter of Service, Janet Morlock's Lions Journey. So, as you could tell, we're probably going to be talking to Janet Morlock tonight. She is the incoming president at the Sierra Vista Lions Club. But right now, before we get started with Janet, I'm going to introduce my co-host over here, Jerry Hirsch, and he is going to say hello to all you kind folks out there.
Well, good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good Friday and has a good weekend planned. I know I got some fun stuff to do this weekend, but it's going to be a fun weekend, and hopefully this podcast will help kick you guys off a good, solid, fun weekend, and you guys can...
Did you guys get that? A fun weekend.
Fun weekend. This should be a fun weekend.
I just had contractors in my house. They're redoing my bathroom for me, and I can't wait because it's been 20 years that I've had the same bathroom, and I'm so happy to get it redone now, and it's going to look nice when it's finally finished up. So
definitely time to upgrade a little bit there.
Yeah, sure is. I can't wait because, I haven't had shower pressure in my shower in years.
Yeah, Lori, like you said, we're going to talk with Janet tonight, and she's been a Lion for a little bit here, and she's kind of done a little bit of everything in the clubs, and she's coming back to take over president, and we'll bring her on here, and we'll talk about all the good things she's got. She's got some awesome projects down there, and hopefully we can get her to talk about her blanket making project, because that is just...
Oh, I'm sure we can get Janet to talk about her blanket making project.
That is just a fun one, and those blankets are just gorgeous.
They are, and it's such a great thing that they're doing it for. So, but we're going to let Janet answer all of that stuff here in a moment when we bring her on. Make sure you stay on after we're done talking with Janet, because we've got a couple of things that we'd just like to talk about that Wichita City Lions Club just had happen here. We had a really cool thing this morning that happened. So, but we'll talk about that there towards the end of the show. Yep. So let's go ahead and without further ado, let's get Janet on here with us.
Hey, Janet.
Hey, Jerry, what's up?
How are we doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Good. Well, first off, thank you for joining us in the podcast tonight. You are our third guest. This is episode 3 already, Lori. Wow.
I know. Yeah.
Wow, at number 3, that's a lot of pressure.
It is.
Listen to the first 2 podcasts, and they're going to be tough acts to follow.
So, well, I think you could do a good job at it, Janet. So, why don't you go and just start? Give us a little of your background, your Lions background, and your journey.
My Lions background, interestingly enough, my mom was a Lion down there in Wichita City, Lori's club, and she loved it, and my brother joined, and my sister-in-law, and there were a lot of people involved with it. And at one point, I wasn't much of a joiner. I was working a full-time job that usually went over 40 with the school district. I was volunteering for the fire department, and sometimes that was a full-time job, too, with all the extra things we did, like bike rodeos and public education and EMS calls in the middle of the night, and then going to school to work in the morning. And so I didn't join much, but I would go to some of the events, and I know I went up and tore off and helped re-roof it at one time, so I got a little taste of it, and I watched, the joy of those people. It just wasn't a good fit for me at the time. Joined for a couple of years, but wasn't really very active. And but I've always had that spirit of feeling that you had to give back, and when I ended 33 years of fire service, about 3 paid and 30-some volunteer, I found myself going back to school. I know, late life bachelor's in my 50s, and moving on to a career out at Fort Huachuca. And that was kind of one of the things that was missing from my life, that giving back, that taking care of community, that outreach, just doing something extra, because I think that on our worst day, what we perceive to be our worst day, somebody's having one that's even worse. And so it doesn't take very long to look around and see all the blessings that life gives you. And I know personally all the blessings that life gives me, if it's nothing more than the view of the mountains outside my window some days. I feel an obligation, and I always have, and probably some of that came from my mom, that you always should give back for all the blessings you have. And even though she was a child of the Depression and sometimes literally spent Michigan winters living in a tent in the cornfield after the war, she still always felt she should give back. She always knew that there was something in her that, wanted to do that. And I might have picked it up from her to a small degree, but so I needed a club, and the treasurer of our club now is Lion Mark Gans, and his wife, Lion Lori Gans, has been a Lion since probably since the early 90s or maybe late 80s. And she looked at me one day and she said, you had Mark for years because he volunteered with the fire department. He did pub ed with me. He went all over Arizona teaching other people to do pub ed with me. And she goes, isn't it time maybe you join the Lions Club because it's my turn? And how could you argue with that? I spent over a decade feeling her husband, feeling her children to come build bike rodeo props with me and, late night EMS calls. And so it was hard to argue with. And truthfully, I was looking for something else. I needed somewhere that I could, and I know it sounds a little selfish, and I think you guys know that because I know you guys are both very devoted to what you do for your Lions clubs and your communities. I think that need to give back just because it's not only great for community and great for others, it's kind of great for you. It's good for me. And so I told her, I said, okay, I got a couple more classes to finish up and then I'll be at a meeting. And I walked in the door and I was back great guns and I was hooked and became part of that club. I think it was in 2012. So, and it works for me.
Well, awesome.
I'm glad you kind of mentioned at the beginning that you kind of more started out on a note of just coming and volunteering for different events. You didn't really join at first because you didn't have the time and stuff. And that's a good point to make. You guys out there listening in don't always have to, immediately join if you're not quite sure or if you don't have the time. But most definitely coming and volunteering for different events that get put on by the clubs is a good way of helping out still. And then like you did, when you find you have the time and you're able to, then you think about joining and decide to join.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you both on that one. It's come out, volunteer, and just try it out, and just see if Lions is a good fit for you. I mean, You may not want to do it, but you still want to volunteer. And I know my club, Wichita City, will take all the volunteers we can always get. Mm-hmm. That just means more people we can serve.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know that's one of the big things we do. We partner with other clubs and other organizations, and people aren't always at a point where they're ready. But there are things, and I know Wichita City, great guns. Wow, I am so impressed with the growth of that club the last few years and all your outreach projects and all those things that you're doing for your community. And you're right, it's not always the members. Sometimes it's just the participants that help make something pop. And what's that lead to? Somebody going, wow, this might be pretty cool to look into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later, but there is definitely a project Lori spearheaded that happened today, and it was a good partnership between...
Yep, it definitely was.
A couple, but we'll definitely touch base on that a little bit more. So, Janet, just what made you decide to jump into the president role?
Well, the first thing they conned me into, isn't that horrible? Mark and Lori and I go back like 30 years maybe or something. It's kind of crazy, His kids now have grandkids, and I remember them being in elementary school and coming and helping with events.
I'm going to be talking to Jason about this. I know Jason. He's. I work for him now, so I'm going to have to say, hey, Jason.
Yeah, Auntie Janet. Yeah, I put his daughter Elizabeth, who's now 20, in her car seat the day she came home from the hospital. So I guess I do go back a ways.
In the circle of life, just everywhere.
I know exactly.
And this is such a small community, I'm not at all surprised.
Yeah, well, I used to work for his dad, too, so it's kind of...
Yeah, that's true, you did. And then I think you and I might have both been at Wichita City for a spell.
Yeah. I was here very early on before the sheriff's department, but fun times.
Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, the world is tiny.
Yep.
Very, and sometimes it just keeps getting smaller because you just reach out and you see those people like, hey, I know you from so and so.
Yep.
It's crazy.
I've been here since the early 70s when I was still in high school. I'm not a young woman, and so I was here since the 70s, and it's so funny how you run into people. It's just crazy.
Right.
Oh yeah.
That's what I like about our area, though.
Yes, it is. That's a very big perk. So coming into your Lions year, running your club, what visions are you bringing to your club this year?
When I look at that, it's kind of funny in some weird things, you get these weird epiphanies in life during the strangest events where you go, hey, would that work? And it may be listening to a radio show, listening to a podcast, or when somebody visits one of your club meetings. But you come to crazy stuff. So, of course, membership. We're an aging club. We're like a lot of other clubs. We're aging out, and we're involved with a lot of other organizations. I try to stay super active in the Greater Sierra Vista Joint Services Committee, which is, I think there's 80-some member organizations from the area, and at least 30 at every meeting the first Friday of every month, and it's crazy. And so you get some inspiration from other people, and I think, so part of my problems that I feel that we have with membership is because we're an aging committee. I'm going to be 70 in a few months, and I've got people that are pushing 90. And so it gets a little bit hard when you see a bunch of us seniors, shall we say, young seniors, but seniors nonetheless, have young people go, oh, no, I'm not going to be a part of that because they're probably going to, make me tea and talk about the blood pressure medicine or something. So,
that is so true.
It's like, yeah, no, not ready to join the Geezer Brigade yet. So.
Geezer Brigade.
Yep.
I'm going to have to use that one, Janet, at the next district meeting, so.
You know those old people have walkers and stuff, so.
Yeah, you got to have visuals sometimes, and I have a really visual imagination, so yeah, I'm here. And so I think that makes it maybe not quite so attractive to younger people sometimes. And then I also looked at, and one of the other Lions presidents, and he was district governor at one point, I believe, and his comment was, well, you're in a military community and you have a lot of retirees. Why aren't you roping them in? They're used to serving their country. Of course they're going to serve you. Well, there's probably also pushing 20 veterans groups in our area. And are you going to be a Lion, or are you going to belong to Bella Vets? Are you going to go to the Warrior Healing Center? Are you going to be part of the Vietnam Veterans Organization? Are you going to be part of the VFW? What are you going to pick? And they tend to pick other veterans organizations, and because we are a military community, and because we have the highest veteran population in the state of Arizona, right here in Sierra Vista, when you look at those things, we have a lot of competition, and there's the Rotary clubs, and there's the Kiwanis clubs, and they're all doing great things, so I don't want to steal their members. I love working with them when we share an event, but I'm not going to steal their members. So that didn't work out quite like I thought. And it sounded like a good idea, but then I started going to joint services, and I went, oh, wow, there's a whole lot to do for people who are community-minded and want to make that difference and want to reach out in their community. So that didn't work out for us as well as we had hoped. And so we started a project that we're 2 years into. And when we get to the part, and I want to tell you, I wouldn't want to talk about this later, about our Project Linus partnership.
Yep.
And we thought, well, people are going to want to join. What we looked at initially, for especially the first year, do we want people who come in, help us do this blanket project to help kids in crisis? If we hit them too hard to become members too soon, I don't want people to think, oh, the only way that I can help with this project is if I'm a Lion. I don't want to scare them off because they feel that that we're trying to rope them into something.
Right.
And I know that sounds weird, but if you compare how big volunteerism used to be, again, coming out of the fire service with volunteer departments, there used to be volunteer departments that were 200 members strong. And probably one of the biggest volunteer fire departments still in southern Arizona is one of the biggest Lions clubs as well at Stafford. But that's a tight-knit community. People have been there for generations and generations, and their great-granddad was a Lion, and their great-granddad also fought fire. And they have those links, but Sierra Vista is very mobile. People come and go. We're a come-and-go community because of the military and because of the job market. And when the people do settle down and retire, I'm back with their veterans, where are they going to go? So looked at that as not working, but we are actually getting some member interest out of those things. So I really want to work on membership, but one of the things that happened that's kind of interesting that may help with that vision of working on membership, working more on community outreach, working more on revitalizing and re-engaging even our current members, came to me at our last meeting. we had a young lady, and for the first time, we gave one of our scholarships that normally go to Buena graduates to a homeschooler. Now, keep in mind that I worked 20-some years with public schools in a couple of different districts. So I'm not a real fan of homeschooling or charters because, like many of us who spend a lot of time in public education, we think we do a better job. And we realize how funding works. And we need those warm bodies in seats so that we can have quality programs to keep the warm bodies in the seats. And so when we were approached about reviewing that, one of our concerns was, how do we know if their academics are really comparable to the academics of the other kids they're competing with? You know, it's mom's word against the world. Honest concern, right?
Yeah.
So we thought that we would look at them because, truthfully, when we give out our scholarships, academics are far from the number one thing that we look at. Because just because the kid's a straight A student and an honors student, and has a 4.82 grade point average, is that necessarily the kid is going to change the world?
Right.
Is that necessarily the kid that's going to make a difference in their community?
Yeah.
That's true. That is very true.
Good point.
They don't have to be the best educated to, be able to have heart and compassion and empathy to want to help out other people and do things like the Lions are doing.
Right. So when we have them apply, we ask for their extracurriculars, their volunteer activities, their activities out of school. If a kid's engaged in working full-time because it's a single parent or whatever, and so they've been working full-time since 9th grade, certainly they're not going to be as involved in school. But the kid that's out there doing the extras, the kid that's maybe the president of the Key Club, the kid that's out building, back when Sierra Vista used to be a pretty active Habitat for Humanity community, the kid who's building houses, the kid who's been volunteering at their church for years, the kid that's teaching at the youth group, the one that goes once a month to take flowers to the senior center, the one that's at the community garden, the ones that was maybe an Eagle Scout, and he built something terrific for the school. Volunteers with special needs kids, Special Olympics. Those are the kids we're looking for because they're the ones who already have the heart to make a difference.
That is very true.
So we weigh that very strongly. And this student was a rock star on that. And we got lucky. It was pretty easy for us to know that her high school scores were on par with where they needed to be because not only is she graduating this month with her high school equivalency diploma as a homeschool student, she's traveled to foreign countries to teach English with her mother, but she's also graduating with her associates from Cochise College at the exact same time.
Oh, wow.
Darn, she's really putting in the work.
And she is involved in church activities. She teaches at her church. She does events. She volunteers at a couple of the senior living facilities. This kid's a dynamo. So it was pretty easy because we could see the heart and soul. So she and her parents came to our last meeting. And I had a lot of questions. It was one of my longer meetings because as much as I don't like people going off agendas very much, we went off agenda because I wanted to know how it worked. How does your kid get that socialization skill that's going to make them succeed in college, that's going to allow them to succeed in the workplace in the isolation of homeschooling? How do you make that happen? And they were super receptive, super cool people. And they said it was easy. We participate in different activities. We do outreach. We did English as a second language. We helped at some of the churches. We helped with some of the youth groups. We helped at some of the camp. She's volunteered at summer camps. We talked about those things. And when the little light bulb that came on a few days later, because I'm not always very quick, was, sometimes I'm a little sluggish. I'm literally in my car, going down the road when I went, ding! And the thing was, at the high school, there's a lot of programs. Kiwanis is in there pretty heavy with programs at the school. They do Key Club, they do several other clubs, they do Builders Clubs, and they do those things. And so I'm not saying that hitting up Buena again, even though we've tried in the past, but we're missing out on a whole population of youth. And engaging youth is one of the things that we've all talked about as Lions that we need to do to not have it all go away when you guys are younger than I am, and when your generation ends, we don't want this all to go away. So, and this girl had actually she's 18, and she said, I'd like to be a member. I know I'm going to the university in Grand Canyon to do weekend projects, and because that's where she's going to start her education. And she said, but I want to be a Lion. We handed her an application. She filled it out and handed it to us before she left.
Nice.
Very nice. Very cool.
And so, yeah, that was pretty exciting. So anyway, when I'm having this ping moment driving down the road, we're missing out on a population. We're missing out on the smaller charter kids, and we're missing out on the homeschool kids. And they're looking for something to do because they want their youth exposed. So am I missing out on that group? Are you guys missing out on that group? Are we maybe as Lions as a whole not thinking about that population where we can maybe touch those kids, because the homeschool parents who are homeschooling for the right reasons, not just because it's easier than getting up and getting your kid on the bus in the morning. Sorry, that was a little mean, but the ones who are out there for the right reason, they want to make sure their kid gets a quality start in life. They want to make sure their child's maybe not exposed to some of the things in society that can be a little daunting and a little frightening sometimes anymore.
Yeah, most definitely. I can completely agree with that. And man, that's a pretty awesome story about this girl and all the stuff and her joining the club. That was pretty cool.
That is awesome.
That was cool. So I want to talk to her, and I want to talk to her parents, her mom, a little bit more. And is there a group of homeschoolers? Is there an outreach program where we can talk to those homeschoolers and see if that's something, maybe engage these youth a little more?
Yeah.
Maybe, who knows, it might even turn out to be a Leo club that's based in the homeschool kids. Never know. But we're not shocked. Those are just those weird things. And if Mark and Lori are listening to this podcast, they're going, oh my God, she's doing it again. She's having like this crazy harebrained ideas of hers. But they weren't in me in the car, so I couldn't tell them first, right? I had to tell you guys first. Because I think, that's a population I want to look at. I want to look at bringing them in, because we can offer them some of that skill they're going to need, because we can, you get people together in different groups where we have the diverse personalities, diverse backgrounds. All that comes together to help them succeed in life, because one of my biggest concerns with the isolated homeschool students and the isolated youth that are isolated, how well are they going to do when they try to go to college and all of a sudden they don't have that one-on-one or, 3-on-1 support network anymore? Are they going to be able to succeed, or is it going to be too daunting for them? Maybe they're a student that's going right into the workplace or right into one of the trades, which are all equally important. And if they're doing those things, they have to learn to work with others. And part of that is collaboration, brainstorming, working together to get a project done, setting goals, come up with projects. Can we not maybe offer that? And maybe that's a whole new population for us. So like I said, if Lions, Mark, and Lori are listening, the secretary and treasurer, sorry to tell you first, but I got a meeting coming.
Hey, surprise.
You know what, though? I'll say this. I don't think it's all that harebrained either. In fact, Jerry and I are both over here writing down notes, because you actually have some very good points with what you're saying, because we are missing out on that demographic of kids, the homeschoolers, the ones that are doing the online schooling that are at home. Yeah, all of that stuff, the charter schools, we really don't pay enough attention to those, and you're completely correct. And they might be a good Leo starting program in some of these areas because of, what you said. They are looking to do stuff. So.
And so your inspiration, I think, when you're in a leadership position, or no matter where you are in a club or an organization or in life itself, sometimes comes in just really kind of crazy places.
Hey, yes. I understand that completely, but but anyway, awesome story. Glad she joined you, but we do have to try to kind of fit this into a certain time here, but we love listening to all these, and I'm so glad that Mark and Lori found out about it on our podcast first.
I know, right? Yes.
I know, right? Yes. Good proud moment for Jerry and I. Yes.
And you guys are spreading the word.
I'm telling you, man, we will. We will definitely.
And with that story, Janet, just real quick, I will follow up with you, because I want to use that success story in future zone meetings, district meetings, and whatnot, because that was an awesome story right there. So.
Yes, most definitely. And And talking about a proud moment here for me and Jerry, now we're leading right into the next thing that we're going to talk about with you. And that's a proud moment of a project or accomplishment that you're most proud of. And I got a feeling it might be this Linus project you guys are working on, because that's pretty big.
You, dear Lori, are a mind reader.
So tell us a little bit more about that project.
Well, I would love to, because this is kind of funny, because we do the vision screening, and as all the Lions out here listening, you guys know all the Lions listening, the state's made some changes, so we can't use the spot machines as much in school. So we're not screening 10,000 kids like we were when we could do all spot. And that was a great thing. And we had some great catches with that, because with the little kids and special needs kids, and, nobody knew they couldn't read because they couldn't pay attention to the chart, and Mark ran that program, Landmark, and he had some great successes, and he loved that. And, I love anything to do with working with kids. I'm an old public educator, stop, drop, and roll, wear your bike helmet kind of girl. So anything, getting into the schools was great. But Project Linus was kind of odd, and I guess Wichita City Lions Club is kind of where they meet to bring blankets down from Tucson and bring blankets back to the recipients down here, like the foster care organizations and stuff. And so Lion Lori, we were looking for something. We wanted something that we could involve the community. Now, keep in mind, she started looking for something like this just before COVID, so we really didn't even have a home to meet at that point. And so she was looking for something, and she found out about Project Linus. She was down there to meet with these people because she'd read about it a little online. And she came back to the club, and she goes, "This is what Project Linus does. They make blankets for kids in crisis, homemade blankets, super easy. All you got to do is tie some knots and some fleece, and we need to get involved. We need to do that." Well, we weren't really have a place big enough. We don't have a clubhouse. We're gypsies, and so we were meeting in somebody's house because the restaurant we had met in pre-COVID decided it wasn't going to be open in the evenings anymore, and we're an evening club. We want to attract the working population, so we're an evening club. And so we were having trouble with that, and it backed up a little bit. We were looking for a place where we could have our meetings. So if somebody came into town and they were a Lion from Ohio and they were snowbirding and they wanted to find a club to come in when they were here, we wanted them to be able to go on the Lions website and find Sierra Vista Lions Club and know when we met and where. And, meeting in somebody's house, you can't just invite strangers over. So I was at Joint Services again, and I had said to the group, and 30-some organizations were there, and I said, "I'm looking for a place to meet. I need a meeting room where we can be open to the public in the evening, where we can set a time, set a day, and post it so people will know where to find us." And one thing led to another, and the then captain of the Salvation Army said, "You know what? We've got a community center. We've got a meeting room. And you guys meet on Wednesdays, and that's the day we're there for our kids' culinary cooking program in the evening, so we're open anyway. Come use our space. Come look at it." I went over and looked at it. Well, because I just say things when they come to my mind, I walked in, and they have this huge room where 5 days a week they feed meals to up to 150 people. Hot meals, 5 days a week. And I said, "Hey, do you guys ever use this on weekends or for other activities, or let anybody else use it?" Because it had these big tables and lots of chairs. And I said, "Yeah, we use that." And so I said, "I got a proposition for you." So I started telling them about Project Linus. And I said, "Now there's 8 of us. We're maybe producing 30 blankets in a month. Our vision has always been to something we could include the community, where we could bring together people who weren't necessarily ready to join a club and give them something positive to do, introduce them to the gift of giving, the gift of volunteers, and the gift of community service, while making a huge impact on these kids in crisis. For these kids on the worst day of their life, they're dealing with a medical emergency. Maybe they're getting chemo. Maybe they're going into foster care for the first time with nothing but the clothes on their back, or maybe there's been a domestic or a car wreck or whatever's going on. But we need a place to do it. We need a place where we can have a set schedule and lots of room to cut and tie knots. And man, it was Heather at the time, Heather Vise, and she said, "Wow, that sounds great. Let's look at the calendar." So I said, "Well, let me talk to Lori." And so all of a sudden we had this big, beautiful facility. We had to work around all their other projects that go on, but we knew we could come up with something. And so all of a sudden we have a venue. So now we're going to make blankets, and they're a super easy, no-sew, tied fleece blanket. If you can cut with a pair of scissors and tie a knot, you can make these fabulous blankets.
Nice.
And so we thought, okay, we have to promote it. And so the first one I didn't promote too hot and heavy. I think I went on the Sheriff's First Watch program, and I talked about the Lions Club, and we were going to do this community service project to impact kids. And of course, Sheriff's on board because he's already a recipient. His deputies are already carrying Baker blankets in their patrol vehicles. Mm-hmm. So he's definitely on board. So he lets me walk in the door, halftime. You know how it works. I know I've heard you on that show as well, Lori. And you know how it works. Just call him, do a little twist, and you get what you want. And it's a great program, and it reaches a lot of people. Everybody wants to know what the pulse of the county. And I think I did a couple PSAs, and I went over to Cool FM, and I said, "Can you do a little video for me?" And they did for the Facebook page. And I did a couple other radio stations because, we didn't know what to expect. And I don't know, man. I guess I must have been having a charismatic day because we had 30-some people show up, and we were excited. We thought that was the best it was ever going to get, and we were just happy because we made 20, 30 blankets that day. And the ladies that came down from Project Linus, which is an amazing organization, they even had some squares with like coloring pictures on them of fabric that get turned into quilts. I got to bring the quilts to one of your meetings or something, Shanti, because they're amazing. And so they brought those down, and we had a couple people said, "Hey, can we bring our kids?" And originally we thought, we probably don't want anybody under 10 or 12. I'll tell you more about that later. But we made some blankets, and then we decided we wanted to do it every couple of months. And so the next time I got brave and I advertised a little more, and that actually was probably the first time I actually had blankets to show when I was videoing, and I reached out a little more. And so the project started to grow. We had a home for the project, those partnerships with other organizations. They're not Lions, but they're amazing. And so Project Linus, a little background on that. Project Linus is in all 50 states. And it's pretty interesting because it started with one person in one newspaper article.
Wow.
A lady sometime in the 90s put an article that in the local paper that the thing that got her daughter through leukemia was her favorite blankie. She took it to her everywhere. And a lady was sitting in her living room, and she read that story, and she said to herself, "I want to make blankets for kids who have problems." So there she is. It's 1995, and she decides that she's going to make blankets, and she's going to take them to the Children's Cancer Center so those kids can have a special blankie too. And then there was a news story about that. And then there was a news story about the group that picked it up. And so long story short, that was in 1995, and now Project Linus is in all 50 states, and they've surpassed 10 million blankets.
That's amazing.
That is awesome.
They surpassed 10 million blankets. I believe it was at the end of last year. And so there's a Project Linus chapter up in Tucson, and she already had some volunteers down here who were making quilts. We don't expect you to come and make a quilt with you, I promise, but we expect you to color a quilt square for somebody to sew into a quilt. We expect you to cut and tie a lot of fleece blankets. And then we had some crocheters show up just because we heard them making blankets. But anyway, so she comes down every time, and she brought our starter load of fleece. And then we had to start finding money to buy more fleece. But so the next one, we advertise, and we'll have the second one. When I get there, Mark and Lori are there first, and they said, "Hey, this guy from Currents Magazine wants to talk to you." That's the electric company's magazine that goes to everybody who's at SSVEC getting service.
Nice.
And he said, "I want to talk about this project." I don't know a lot about it yet, but I can make stuff up.
Right.
Really didn't enough. And so we talked about it. We showed them what we were doing, and we talked about where the blankets went. And that's where it kind of gets to your heart, because these blankets go to kids on the worst day of their life. And with the sheriff's office, they may be using them for maybe there's been a domestic, right, and maybe one parent's going to jail and the other's going to the hospital. So somebody's got to take care of the kid while they either get processed into temporary foster, or a family member can get into town to get them
Right.
Well, they all carry teddy bears, but if you're getting hauled out of your house with nothing but the clothes on your back, in Project Linus, if you haven't caught on yet, Charlie Brown comic, Linus and his little blanket, that's what it's named after, because what a sense of security. This kid can wrap up in this handmade blanket. We don't accept anything from the store, anything commercial. It all has to be handmade. Even just tie in the knots or crochet in the edges. And so that worst day of your life theory. So I told them about that, and I said the kids that are going into foster, and told a little story about how that would happen. The child that's going to chemo, they can wad up their blanket, put it in their backpack, and take it every time they have to go in for a treatment. And what a marvelous sense of security that is. And so they ended up doing a feature article for us with some blankets and some of our blanket makers. And so I got even more people. The next time, we had like 50 people show up. And we made probably 60, 70 blankets. So now we're getting really excited. And long story short, that was 2 years ago. And because we partner with Project Linus, and because we partner with the Salvation Army, and because I have the opportunity to invite all the other clubs when I go to joint services, which is cool. I'll tell you more about that sometime when we see each other. We've grown. And we sometimes have we've had as many as 80 some volunteers at a single event. At that event, they made 100 fleece blankets, either by just tying knots or by crocheting edges. Well, meanwhile, over the course of the thing, some people have came in and they bring their crocheting. I just like the company, and I'm making Afghans crochet blankets for Project Linus. Can I just sit here and do my crocheting? So they bring their baskets and they bring their blankets and they crochet.
Yeah.
And sometimes it says high and fringe, they'll crochet a really pretty edge on a piece of that fleece. Like people make their favorite football team blankets and stuff.
Right.
And they'll come in and do that. And then, of course, you can't make a quilt in 3 hours. Well, we color squares, and then the quilters for Project Linus, of which there are several, I found out, in the Sierra Vista area, they take them home and they make these amazing quilts with hand-colored squares. They're colored by our little kids who come there. We don't even care if they're totally in the lines. We still use them because then the kid's getting something made for them by a kid. And I think that makes it even more special. So that's how Project Linus works. So it immediately became a favorite, and I know some of our listeners know Lion Marks and Lion Lori, and they've been Lions a long time, but we immediately looked at each other probably after the first big event, the first event with 30-some people, and we said, we have a new favorite project. And we thought people would get tired of it, but they don't.
No, that's something everybody likes. How often do you do the Project Linus? I mean, how often are you guys working on it? Do you meet
go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you meet like once a week, once every couple of weeks to work on the coloring and stuff, and then the quilters get them, or do you guys only meet like certain times of the year?
Well, it's kind of crazy because we had thought that's what we'd have to do, but because we are using the Salvation Army Community Center and we literally can fit 100 volunteers in there making blankets, but they obviously use it for other events. And so we were going to do 6 a year every other month, but where we ran into a problem with that around the holiday season, the Salvation Army is so busy with their gifts for kids, their red kettle. They have so much going on that we really had to take that 2-month hiatus in there.
Right.
So we end up we're only doing 5 a year, but when you're sometimes producing, 150 blankets during that time, because now what's happening with people, Lori, this is the coolest. People are coming in and we may make 50 blankets, but we may have another 70 come in off the street.
Nice.
People show up with fleece that they've tied at home. They show up with handmade quilts. They show up with we've had as many as 25 hand crocheted Afghans come in. We've had as many as I want to say, I think at one event we had an extra 10 or 12 quilts come in, already put together and made, in addition to the ones that had already been dropped off with Project Linus, with Rennie from Project Linus. They just come in with them made. So we're averaging about 150 and close to, I think they had in October, close to 200 products that went up to Project Linus to be tagged and distributed back out to our communities. We've had the sheriff's office and the fire departments come out and meet our volunteers and give them high fives and tie knots with our volunteers and then take big bags of blankets. for their ambulance, for their police cars, for the kids that are processed through the Blake Foundation. They work with the foster care groups, the local hospitals, the hospital down in Douglas, and they go everywhere. It's like a storm. And I guess they said in the past they offered it up to Sierra Vista Police Department. They were, we don't know. Well, I just talked to the chief. As a matter of fact, the 250th anniversary Arizona celebration that came down as part of the nation's 250th. I know I saw some Lions from you guys' club there. And I talked to him, and he will be with us on May 13th, so he can find out what it's about, and we can talk to him about what we need to provide so we can have a few in cars. So when his guys run to those situations, those domestics, maybe a crash where the parents are injured, but the kids just need to be comforted until they can get them somewhere safe, they're going to be carrying the blankets too. Project Linus is insane.
Yeah.
10 million blankets. So
sounds like it's pretty insane.
Yeah, that project is just huge, and it's a great benefit for everybody involved with it and everyone who's a recipient of those blankets. So
Yep, most definitely. But well, Janet, we are finally starting to get towards the end of our podcast here. But before
one more quick thing, can I throw in one more Project Linus thing that you guys are going to think is cool because you're into providing service?
Sure.
So yeah, we know we're giving 150 kids blanket, but guess what happens? That's really cool. We had a kid, a 5-year-old, come in, 5-6-year-old with his family, and he wanted to make blankets because he had received blankets on 3 occasions when he had been in the hospital in Tucson because he does suffer from a chronic illness.
Nice.
And he wanted to give back, so he brought it to me and he said, I hope this makes another kid happy. And when we at first thought we didn't want little kids there, we don't care if they tie their knots quite a little bit crooked. One of us can fix that, but they get the joy of learning to volunteer. We have a scout group that comes in. And so what do we do? And me being me, I sit down and I talk to them. Like, do you know why you're making this blanket? And I talk to them about community service and volunteering and giving back to communities. And then there's the cool stuff. There's the little kid I believe he was 8 years old. He came in with his mom. He saw somebody crocheting. He goes, I'm learning how to crochet. Can I show you? And he goes out to his car and gets it. He sat down with a lady probably old enough to be his great-grandmother, and she had taught him how to make a beautiful scallop, and he took his blanket home to finish. This kid learned to crochet. And I heard it on the radio this morning because I try to get it published on a couple of stations first thing Friday, Saturday morning, so when they go out to get groceries, they can stop by. I know, I'm crazy. And a lady comes in, she's by herself, pretty shy, and I said, okay, we're going to set up another table. And she goes, oh, if you're full. And I said, oh, no, we're not full. I just didn't set up enough tables. And I was going to go get one of my nieces to sit with her and help her get started. So they got started, and it wasn't a half an hour later, another lady comes in by herself. One was a widow. One was another single lady, probably in their 50s. And so they came in to make blankets because they just wanted to see what it was all about. And they left having exchanged phone numbers and had a lunch date on Tuesday. Now, here we are a year later, and they come in together. We have whole church groups that come in together. We had, I think, 10 churches that showed up as church groups. We have high schoolers, college students, whole groups of soldiers show up. So what we've done is we've tied the community together. I actually thought a lady looked really familiar at the last one. We realized we worked together over 30 years ago. So there's so many crazy connections. So people are making friends. People who are new to the area and they don't want to do the nightlife, guess what? They can come there and meet their new best friend.
Exactly.
There you go.
I had a soldier's wife bring me 3 huge 30-gallon garbage bags of brand new yarn. So I shared it with the Kiwanis because they make hats for kids at Christmas. So I shared some of the colors that maybe we would use, and they gave me back some of the light colors. I've had people come in and give fleece. I had a guy call and say, you take fleece? And then I realized he meant Baba. They had just sheared their sheep, and I told him I didn't take that kind of fleece. But people are donating fabric. They're donating yarn. They're coming in. They're calling to find out what size blankets we want to make at home. But truly, I think the thing that I love the best is seeing these high school kids working with these senior citizens, these elementary kids doing their first volunteer. Somebody come in and telling about their child received a Project Linus blanket and what a difference it made in their life. So there's so many, the ripple effects when we make blankets in the community connections, that can't be beat. So honestly, even though it's not Lions doing something for the community, it's Lions, a small club, but we can bring people together and we're still making the impact. So do we need more members? But Lion Lori is a wizard. She found this program and in the impact, you guys got to come out. You got to come out and see it. We've got one coming up, and you got to be there because you're right. It was easy for me to pick my favorite project.
And
yeah,
then
Lori found it, man. She's the queen.
Yeah.
And then with all that, Jen, I mean, you answered just about every question we had for you tonight.
Yeah. For the most part, pretty much through everything, yeah, from what we talked about, yep.
It was very cool. Thank you for that deep dive into Project Lioness. I will definitely try to get out there to the next one and check it out. And I know my daughters have been there before and helped out, so I know they were liking it. So,
tell them to make sure they come up to me so I can put the faces with your children. That'd be great.
I definitely will.
And so, by the way, if any of you Lions are out there listening, May 9th, Salvation Army on Wilcox Drive. We'll be there from 9 to noon. If you can only stop by for a half an hour, if you can stop by for the whole time, please come join us because it's just cool. So sorry I took so much time rambling about that, but it's just exciting.
No, I mean, it's something close to you guys' heart, and you're correct on everything you said about bringing the community together with this, everybody helping out and doing all these different things. And even if it's not the fleece and the tying, they're doing crocheting and everything else. So that's perfect. And we love to hear about those kinds of things. And so does all the rest of the listening community, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And we'll definitely,
I love
Janet,
hearing about Stafford's project with how they, they're with Borderlands. And I know Wichita City's inviting the community. And I know that you guys have a car show coming up here in the fall. And I think, and it's kind of funny. I'm seeing things really turn around for some of the clubs throughout the state. And honestly, for all you clubs out there who are doing those things, I want to thank you because you give me the energy not to say, well, this just isn't working anymore. So you're firing up the rest of us.
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, and thank you for being our guest tonight and talking about all this wonderful stuff that's going on in Sierra Vista and what your plans and stuff are. We appreciate it.
Thanks for letting me. And I didn't mean to steal the time from you, but you hit my favorite point, Sam. I want to thank you for inviting me and letting me be on your show because this is really good for the Lions community. You guys are rock stars.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Janet, but we'll be in touch with you and we'll do some check-ins on that projects that you guys have going on down there. And who knows, maybe one day we'll do a traveling podcast at your blanket event.
Yeah, exactly. We can do that.
Oh, that'd be cool. And the participants would love it. So.
Alrighty.
Awesome.
Well, that's something we'll keep in mind.
Perfect.
All right, Janet, you have a wonderful night and a great weekend now.
You too, and I hope to see you guys soon.
All right.
Good night, Janet.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Wow, how great was that to hear about all that really cool stuff that's happening in Sierra Vista and some of the visions and stuff Janet has for the club. And she's on it, man. Her and the Genzes and them are bringing in some good stuff.
I expect, and I'm going to put this challenge out to the Sierra Vista Club, being the zone guy in this area, I expect big things from that club this year. I mean, they already got a bunch of big things already.
Yeah, they do.
So to top some of those, I mean, especially those blanket things, to top that's going to be a hard one, but it's such a great project, and I know I want to see if not only like Wichita City can help support it in a way, but I'll even get Vincent involved, and maybe we'll make it a zone project and we can help out.
And we did kind of throw around this idea of doing this is going to be fun, a chili cook-off between all of our different clubs, Sierra Vista, Wichita City, Benson. So we could actually do a chili cook-off, and then somebody might have some bragging rights on who the best chili is and stuff. So
maybe I'll talk to the district about getting like some kind of trophy for it too, and the club who wins can hold the trophy for a year. Yeah,
I think it'd be fun. I got a pretty good chili recipe, I got to say. So
I got one too. I'm going to have to tame mine down a little bit. Mine's really spicy.
And if we do end up doing it, we're going to invite the public to come in and be our judges. So
yes, we will need judges for that.
Yeah, 100%. We most definitely will. I mean, we could have people coming in and tasting all the chili and then having jars out to vote on whichever chili they like the most, and best club wins, man. So we'll have to talk about that some more.
I will bring that up at my next zone meeting. So you talked about at the beginning of the podcast here that great project that you spearheaded. I know we're running low on time, so we'll kind of just give us a synopsis.
I'll give you a synopsis. So came up with this, Lions Club came up with this idea to do some rock painting. And originally we were going to paint rocks to place in one of the parks that's here in town. And then I kind of was like, well, what about if we get all the kids at the school involved and have them paint rocks? And we'll talk to some of the veterans and see if maybe some of the veterans from Warriors Healing Center might want to get involved. So in the end, it ended up just unfortunately being the kids of Huachuca City School. But let me tell you, there was 300 rocks that got placed today.
And those kids were smiling.
Oh, they were so happy. Wasn't that awesome?
I walked up to that and you can't help but just smile with them. So
what happened was we worked for a week with all the kids at the school. A couple of us went out and gathered up a bunch of rocks from medium to small size that were flat on one side. One of our members happens to know how to do rock paint pouring, and it turns into a really cool design. And so he basically volunteered his time to spend with the school kids for a whole week, doing regular brush painting of any design they wanted to kind of beautify nice messages, whatever they wanted. And then he taught the older kids, fifth through eighth grade, how to do the pouring. So it ended up being pretty cool. The teachers and everybody, even the principal, all got involved in doing some of that.
Nice.
But then today, and I shall say, we also had several other members of the club that went and helped Earl during the week for the painting and stuff. Kudos to all you guys that showed up and helped Earl. He appreciated it so much. And we even got to we made sure we included all of the special needs kids because that was a big thing for us. We wanted to make sure those kids were included in this.
Right.
And Earl spent a couple hours just with those kids alone. I think there was around 12 or 13 of them.
I think so, yeah.
And he showed them how to do stuff and help them during the day. And to stay tuned to the Huachuca City Lions Facebook page because going to be posting all sorts of great pictures of the kids and stuff doing the painting and everything. But then today we actually placed the rocks. The city was kind enough to build an asphalt path through the park or part of the park. And they left the sides open, and the kids were able to bring their rocks over today that they had all painted. And, of course, we coated them so they're UV resistant. And they placed all the rocks along the sides of the path. And the city is going to fix them in place so nobody can take them or lose them or get them kicked out of there or whatever. So that was a big thing today. And let me tell you, those kids were so excited about doing this, and they were so happy. And
oh my God, they were.
Earl got the name of the paint guy because they couldn't remember his name all the time, so he got the nickname the paint guy. I think he's actually going to end up volunteering at the school some next year and doing some art projects and stuff with them because they really liked it. So really cool. It was a great morning. We had some of the media out there, and so just keep an eye out on the Herald, the Cochise County Voice, and Cool FM, and you guys will be seeing some news about that from today. So it was really cool.
That was great. Like I said, Laura, you and Earl, I mean, big shout out to Earl. And he's one of our new members in Huachuca City. And
he stepped up.
He stepped up and said, hey, this is a good project.
He donated most all of the pouring paint and stuff came from Earl and his family. So that was really cool that they donated all of that paint. So.
And it's gorgeous. If you guys are out in Sierra Vista, Huachuca City area anytime, come check it out. I mean, just walking out the back door from my office, you can see the rocks, and it's just gorgeous out there. And I can't wait to fill it up. We got some more room to go, and there's some plans going. The city's talking about to help out. And
I think the special needs kids might do some more rocks that might get put. I don't know if they're going to get put out there if they're doing a separate project, but I might be able to get some of the veterans that I know to come in and learn some of the paint pouring and do some rocks. Maybe not for that park, but maybe for the other park, the Veterans Park that you guys are opening.
Definitely, that's another huge project down the list for the city that they're doing.
For the city, exactly.
But anything we can do with partnerships, that's going to be a huge thing.
Yeah, and the school just told me today that they're more than willing to partner with us on projects again in the future. So I think we might have to come up with another project or two.
We'll have to. And the school and Mr. Powers and all that, they're just awesome. Yeah. And they let us use their parking lot for our car show in October. Yep. More details on that when it gets closer.
Yeah. I am going to mention something that'll be coming up here next month. Beginning of next month, we are having a pet adoption event. Huachuca City Lions Club is kind of partnering with Huachuca City. And we're actually going to use the same park that the kids just placed the rocks in to have a bunch of organizations, rescues, and Sierra Vista Shelter is going to come. I'm pretty sure Little Angels and Arrow's Landing so that they would be here. Border Animal Rescue, Elaine from Cantor, which is the therapeutic riding out in Hereford. I'm hoping she's going to come and set up a table so that she can give out more information. Hopefully we'll have a few people bringing cats. We're going to have Hero Paws with service. Well, I don't know if the service dogs will actually be with their people or not, but they're going to be coming to give more information about that. And some other great animal control. Wichita City Animal Control is going to be there. So yeah, we're going to have a nice little event here in our Lovingwell Park. That's behind City Hall, and that's going to be on June 6th. And it'll be from about 9 to 3 p.m. So if you guys listening in are in this area and you want to come check out this adoption event, maybe find a new best friend and come on out and check it out. It's going to be fun.
Let's get these animals some homes, and get them in a loving home where they can live off the rest of their life and have fun and people just loving on them and adoring them.
Yeah, Jerry and I both used to do animal control in our past, so we know the ins and outs of that and how great it is to get an animal into a new home where it's going to be happy and it's going to be loved the rest of its life. Hopefully, the rest of its life. Sometimes it don't work out.
Sometimes it don't, but it's. I don't know anymore the rate on.
Yeah, I don't.
But I know years ago when I was really involved with it, it was pretty high. So, mark that date on your guys' calendars. Like Lori said, if you're in the area, come on down, adopt a friend, and just come out and hang out. If not, and see what's all going to go on.
We're going to have hot dogs and drinks and. So come on out and check us out and maybe have a hot dog and a soda or a bottle of water, whichever you may want. But I think Jerry's got something coming up over in Benson as well here, I think. Isn't it tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning, yes. We will be out in Benson. We're going to be at the vape shop. We had to move our car wash. Mm-hmm. So we're having a car wash to help us raise some funds to really benefit and help out the people in the community of Benson, Arizona. So if you're out and about and you need a car wash, especially from that nice wind and rain we've had last night, come get a car wash. It's donation based. We're not asking for any particular nomination of money, but just come on out, help us raise funds so we can help Benson. We'll be there. It starts at 8 to 12. I'll be out there probably on 7 to start setting up. I got some other people coming out to help set up, but yeah, come on out and get your car washed and help us out.
Yeah, I mean it's a good charity kind of thing, to try to help you guys get going over there and maybe be able to do a lot more community programs and stuff.
Yes,
because you guys are just getting started again over there, so you need needs people to come out and get those car washed to help them raise money.
Need a little help just to kind of get the bucket going, and then we'll really be able to hit the ground and get out there. We got a bunch of other things planned in the works, and we'll talk about those in future episodes.
Yeah, most definitely. And if you guys are out there listening and you may not be a Lions member and you're thinking about it, even if you don't want to become a member like Janet was talking about, right away, just go and volunteer maybe for a couple of events that your local Lions Club might be having going on or whoever it is. And just check them out and see if it's something that's a good fit for you. Or, you don't have to always join. You can just come and volunteer and help us out. We're always looking for things like that. I mean, we also just did our Adopt a Highway where we went out and picked up trash we had a mile section on both sides of the road, and it was a little bit more, I think, than what we actually really thought it was going to be out there walking and picking up. So I'm hoping that the next time we plan it, we're going to try to get more people to come help.
I got some ideas on that one, and again, I might turn it into a little friendly competition just because I'm a competitive guy, and I like friendly competition. Just always makes things bigger and better. So, and
real quick before we wrap up the show for tonight. I just want to put this out there too. If you guys are in the Sierra Vista area on May 9th, the Southern Arizona Museum is having a Celebrate Sonorasaurus event. And Ron is a really good dude. He is doing this event. He's having a gentleman that actually found Sonorosaurus here in the Whetstones come down and do a talk and everything. He's going to have some kind of cool little events for people. He's doing a museum tour so you can see all the different stuff. Of course, he's got a little shop if you guys are interested in buying anything. But we're also going to be signing up kids for his camps. He has 3 camps that he always puts on or has been putting on. He's got his microscope camp, the dinosaur camp, and bug camp, which if you guys are interested in bugs, that one sounds like it's going to be pretty cool.
That might be the winner for a lot of people.
Yeah, but Another one he's actually doing at my request, and he's knocked the price way down on it, is it's a dinosaur fossil dig. Well, I shouldn't say dinosaur, but it's a fossil dig. And so this is going to be open to any of the high school students here in Huachuca City, Sierra Vista, or Benson area, Tombstone. And you guys can either, we're going to take you out to a dig site where it's pretty much guaranteed you're going to get some kind of fossil. So that's going to be pretty cool. And
Nice.
that'll be on June 27th. And it will be we'll be meeting at the Sierra Vista Mall, and it'll be from like 9 to 1 p.m. when we're doing that. So if you guys want to get signed up, you can come on out to the Sonorosaurus event on May 9th. And I'm sorry, but I don't happen to have Ron's phone number handy right this second, or I would give it out. But you guys can always look on Facebook or on the website and look up Southern Arizona Museum of Science and Technology, and his information is listed on there. To
And
call.
we'll try to get that information out to you guys as well,
Yeah.
too. So,
Yeah.
well, Lori, I think we've just about covered everything we needed to cover tonight on episode 3.
Yes. It was a good episode.
Good episode, good guest.
Yes.
She gave us a lot of good stuff and projects and just visions.
And what a great story about the girl that joined the club,
Oh,
too.
yeah.
That was just awesome.
It's so much. And I told her, and if she doesn't believe me, she's got another thing coming. I'm going to use that.
He will, too. He will, Janet, if you're still listening.
I get to go to Atlanta in June for a training, and part of that training is membership growth. So
Very
that story
nice.
is going to make it to Atlanta.
Very nice. Very nice. So
Everyone, thank you for your time today. Thanks for listening. I know it's been kind of a long episode tonight.
it's not too bad.
Not too bad. But thanks for hanging in there with us. Please like and subscribe to the podcast. Let us keep going. If you guys have any things that you want us to cover, send them our way. Let us know. We'll try to find a guest, or just Lori and I will cover them
Yeah.
if we have to.
Yep, most definitely. And you know, in our podcast, it's literally, you know, where we're trying to highlight leadership, service, and all you great people out there that are making a difference in our community. So please listen in, like, subscribe, send us what you're doing, what you may be having coming up for events or whatever, and we'll be more than happy to get it out and let everybody know what all the great things are you guys are doing.
Yeah. And we will be back in 2 weeks with another episode. We already got the guest speaker lined up, and hopefully nothing changes. They said their schedule can change at the last minute, so
No.
I'm hoping, but I got to back up just in case.
Okay, great.
So
Great.
we should
It's
be
good to
good.
know. Good to
One
know.
way or another, we're good. I appreciate everybody. Thank you very much. And
Thanks, guys.
Just remember to roar.
Yep, and come on back in 2 weeks.
Yes.
All right, good night.